The Saltdipped podcast, taking life, business, and adventure with just a pinch of salt. Hello and welcome back to the Saltdipped podcast. Believe it or not, this is the fifth one. I've really enjoyed putting these together, and I hope you've been enjoying the interviews and then these individual sessions as well. So I thought what I want to talk about today is and I've mentioned it before, but that concept of beginner's mindset. I really do think that this is a fantastic way to live life. It helps you not say no to a lot of things. No, I don't have that skill set. No, I don't know how to do that. No, I don't even know where to start, which might be holding you back, both in a personal capacity as well as in a professional capacity. Maybe it could even just be taking that leap from leaving your job that you have to starting that business that you've either already got as a side hustle or that you've been thinking about starting up for ages. Because we don't know, or because we feel like a novice, it can hold us back if we don't just go. But that's a good thing. Lifelong learning is really a great way to just focus on life, and it's okay to be learning all the time. And maybe a bit nerdy, as we would say, but so what? Up to the geeks and the nerds, I think, and people who are continuously doing that journey in themselves. So one of the things in business that I try and do to help with this is read books and podcasts and find out from other people how they've gone about certain aspects of their business, or how they are managing their workflow, whatever it might be. Or maybe it's even a book on one of the latest best ideas for a marketing method. I love researching and finding new ways that could work for our clients at my business, Digital Happiness. So that's one of the things that I do spend quite a bit of time on, is sort of researching and innovating, because we want our clients to be able to get the best results out of their marketing at the end of the day. We want them to be able to turn around and go, oh, I definitely got a return on investment here. So yeah, that's in the personal space. And I think sometimes that is easier than the personal space, the business space. But I think it's sometimes easier doing it there than it is in the personal space, because it's almost a tangible result. You know that you need to research, you know that you need to stay ahead of the curve, especially with AI and all the innovations that are coming into our industries now because of that. But what about on the personal side? If you think about it, when was the last time you tried something new for yourself? Was it a couple of years ago? Was it a decade ago? Was it last week? Are you continuously trying new things and finding out what works for you? And some people might have gone through a long period where you haven't tried anything, and all of a sudden, you do try new things, and you decide to pick up hobbies that you haven't had before. Often termed a midlife crisis, if that's sort of ringing a bell. But what is wrong with that? I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I wasn't always in this mindset either. Can I just say that? If we circle back about 8 years ago, I was about to start a business and I had just become a mom. Okay, so those are the two new things. But before that, I can't necessarily tell you there was something absolutely stand out that I had tried. I remember going through my divorce and then feeling a bit like, well, I don't really have much of a personality, because I don't have anything to talk about other than business or my very small baby small child at that point. He was 2.5, maybe not that much of a baby anymore. And I wanted more substance for myself. So that's when I started going and finding and trying new hobbies. A big thing I wanted to do at that point in time was get fit. I'd always wanted to be a mom who was able to go on any adventure and challenge with my son. And at that point, my body wasn't quite ready for it. There's no ways I would have just been able to going hiking on Saturday. Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll be there. I would have died. No, not died, but I would have really struggled with the hike. So it was a big focus for me. So a lot of my exploring has gone into sports and then finding what will work for me. And actually my first foray into sports wasn't because it was something I wanted to try or do as far as fitness is concerned. I had decided, especially now being a single mom and a single woman living by herself, and that there was a small child in my household, that I wanted to know how I could defend myself should the worst happen, rather than being a victim and potentially at higher risk. What could I do in a situation like that? So I started looking for self-defense classes, which I'd never done before. I found a Krav Maga class, which I really enjoyed joining. And, it started from there, because if you want to be able to effectively do the techniques, you do need to have a level of fitness. And while the classes that I went to focused on techniques, we were highly encouraged to be spending time outside of the class working on our fitness. So in came the walks, all things I'd done before, nothing too new other than that in the Krav Maga. And the same school then a year later added RCFA. So it's a bit like kickboxing, but it is a South African originated sport. Go have a look at it. It just turned 40. It's been around for a while. And I sort of went, oh, well, that would be great for my fitness. So I added that on top of the Krav Maga that I was doing. And quite honestly, martial arts are probably the one thing I'd never, ever, ever thought that I would do in my life. And here I was enjoying it, enjoying the challenge of it, making friends in it, going to competitions and sparring for the first time. Definitely challenging to join a martial art when you are an adult. Can I just say that? Because if you are competing, you do tend to end up against black belts because it's just, they've been doing it since they were a lot smaller and have built themselves up the ranks. So not that that was anything to dissuade me. In fact, in some ways, it was like, well, that's quite a good challenge. So that's where that really started. And then I did have a big dream that was sitting on the back burner for a very long time. If I think back to the first time I ever thought I'd love to be a surfer or I'd love to surf, I was a teenager, and I remember my parents taking me. There were these Roxy surf days when, I don't know if they still do them, but when I was younger, they would do these with local surf schools. And there was one day happening in Strand, and 2 years running, I think I was 12 and 13 or 13 and 14. My parents brought me through so I could do those 1 days of surfing. But, doing it for 2 hours and then coming out the water and then doing it once 2 years later does not a surfer make. And I'd always wanted to do it and just, I think, didn't know how to approach it. And then being at a conference in Madrid, for BNI, where they then said that the next year was going to be taking place in Hawaii. It's amazing how my brain immediately got excited about Hawaii, even though it had never been a bucket list location for me. But then the secondary thought was, but I can't go to Hawaii if I don't know how to surf. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I will surf there, but I'm not going to try and pick it up at lessons at Waikiki Beach. So I very quickly went and found a surf school and started picking it up. And, you can't stand when you start, you fall all over the place. And the progression is probably not as fast as a lot of other sports because, you've got maybe 5 to 6 opportunities in an hour and a half to catch a wave, and you've got about 12 seconds to perfect what you're doing in those opportunities. So it is a challenging sport to learn from that perspective. And I'm probably never going to be the world's best surfer, but it gets me into the water, and the water in itself is so much good, does that is brilliant. And at the same time, I'm still progressing in the sport and getting more excited about it. And we've got a beach break here in Strand where we surf, so that, where the waves break and you've got the sandy beach, and that's perfect. But there are more than just that kind of a break. When I did arrive in Hawaii, I was looking at a reef break, which I'd never tried before, and we had volcanic coral, which could slice you open very easily just under the water. So it was even though I'd learned to surf, I hadn't learned to anticipate the different conditions or the different skill sets that I would need, not to cut my foot open, as an example. So you've got these opportunities to keep learning when you try out different things. And again, in Australia, the surfing that I did there, all reef breaks, except Bondi Beach was a beach break as well. So that was lovely too, to have a bit of a reef and a beach break on that trip. And, now with surfing, I can go, okay, not every spot's going to be the same. The way the ocean behaves differently, not even just in a single spot, but at different days. Some surf spots, the peak, so your highest part of the wave before it starts breaking, moves. Our spot, it doesn't. It's very consistent. It's lovely. But that's not the same. That's not the truth for all spots around the world. So there you go. Constant learning, constant motion, and you've just got to sort of accept it. And it's quite humbling a lot of the time as well. Recently, I've then said yes to 2 new things to try. So my partner, Julian Lewis, he runs Ski BNI, and it's a beautiful trip where he takes about 50 people from England to France every year to go ski and snowboard. Anyone from like someone like me who's barely seen any snow in their life and is wanting to try it out for the first time, all the way through to expert skiers who've maybe been on skis since they were 2 to 3 years old. So really nice mix and group of people. I knew that the week was going to be a bit of a learning curve. I knew I was putting myself out there as far as a new sport was concerned. I think I was very much hoping that my surfing was going to assist me with that whole process as well. And you know what? Day one was amazing. Got arrived being like, I know nothing. I didn't even know how to strap myself onto the board. I didn't know how to carry the board. I had no idea how to get off of a chairlift, which apparently I knew was stressful for snowboarders because they're not built for them, and absolutely no idea how I was supposed to go down the side of a mountain. Also, going down the side of a mountain is a very different skill set than catching a wave. So, day one was great. I learned to clip in, I learned how to stand, a feel for the chairlift. I mean, did I fall off it still a couple of times throughout the week? Yes. And I think that that's just going to be my life if I decide to continue snowboarding. I learned to go down the mountain on my heel side, and I was feeling very, very good about this new skill set that I was picking up. Great, cool. It's not that difficult. It seems quite nice and easy. My balance was good. I think the surfing and maybe the martial arts had helped with that. My balance was actually really good, and I was able to stand on the board, where a lot of people do struggle with that at the beginning of the process. Now, day two rolls around, and I'm like, I've got this. Start the morning off really well, continue doing the hillside. Now, I didn't know much about snowboarding at this point in time. So here I was already thinking, cool, I've got this. I can go down like this. Yay. I didn't realize that you had to do a toe side as well. So that's, on the other side of the board and you're actually facing up the mountain. So technically you're going down backwards. How often you would actually use that when you become better at snowboarding? I mean, you do these turns where you're going from the two different sides of the boards, but you're probably not doing a long stint on your toes, I would imagine. I suppose here we go. I will still learn. So now you can't see the direction you're going in. You've got a high chance of falling off. And I'm learning to stand up as well because you stand up from your toe side. You've got more control to do that. Some great people who seem to be able to do it from their heel side. Goodness knows if I'm ever going to get there. We'll see. And it's nerve wracking. And that's when the fear started setting in. I've had it a bit with surfing. Every now and again you go, oh, that's a big set. Woof, that's a big wave. You wait for that to pass, or you get out the water and then you can, just continue. You can decide how comfortable you want to be. But with snowboarding, you're in the situation and you need to get yourself out of the situation. Yeah. So going backwards, I found very sort of anxiety ridden and was, struggling to really get to grips with it. But managed, and then my instructor said to me, cool, now we're going to start moving side to side, which we'd done with the heel side. It's called leafing across the mountain. And I started trying, and then it felt like the board was going in the opposite direction from where I wanted it to go, and I couldn't see what I was doing, and all I could think about was, I'm going to fall down this mountain backwards, and panic sets in, and I fell down and did something that no snowboarder is really supposed to be able to do. I hurt my knee. Now, why should I not be able to do that? You are strapped into that board. Knee injuries are for skiers because that's all separate and there's an opportunity for damage to occur. So I definitely fallen in a way that was bizarre and should not happen in the sport of snowboarding. Anyway, got up, my knees now twinged, and I tried it again. And the same thing happens. I'm going in the wrong direction. I panic. I fall. I tweak that knee again. And I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. And the rest of the week was quite challenging from that perspective. So I hit that. And yes, I did improve as far as, okay, now I could come back on the board the next day, continue with heel side. But the fear is huge. And as far as the mental game is concerned, I think snowboarding is the most challenging thing I've ever tried to do. It's more of a mental game than it is actually a physical sport, or it's a bit of both. But it's and just sort of researching and seeing what other people are saying about it now afterwards, I can see that it's very much like you've just got to push through it. You've just got to almost get comfortable with it. Now, I've done dangerous sports. I get punched in the face for fun, but it's not on the same level. So by the end of the week, I did have a very kind instructor, or actually one of the people who are on the trip with us who happened to be a level 2 instructor, come and join me on the slopes, and he sort of got me feeling what those turns should feel like in the long run. So that made me feel a little bit more confident again. I'm happy that I've been able to take a bit of a break from it. I am going to try and go and do some lessons because I will be on the slopes again next year on the same trip. So it's something I want to do. I want to improve at and sort of figure out how I can get into a better mental space, because it's not always easy. And you might have experienced that kind of fear barrier with other things as well. And it really is embrace it and try and move through it. And then, there's just this last weekend, I decided we're at a festival, for very much a health and fitness festival with like yoga and meditations and Pilates and Nia and anything in that space you can imagine is going on over the course of the weekend. But they also had a roller skate rink. And my son was with me, first big festival I'd taken him to because it's family friendly. And he wanted to try roller skating. And here I'm going, I feel like this is going to be like the snowboarding all over again because it's not a skill I picked up when I was a child. My aunt gave us a pair of skates, which by the time she gave it to us, I was slightly too big for, so I didn't really pick it up. But my sister had the opportunity to, so she's always enjoyed doing it, and even though she hasn't done it since she was a child, she made sure that she had the opportunity to do that the weekend. She was very excited about this. I was a little bit more nervous, and obviously I had an 8-year-old who'd never done it before and needed to try and help and assist him. Luckily, his auntie took on that duty, and I just got to spend some time on the skates. So I can tell you that I've got a big graze on my rib cage for falling and going into the perimeter fence. I have a gigantic bruise on my thigh at the moment from a fantastic fall as well. But regardless of getting like a little bit injured, it was fun. And I think I actually needed that after the snowboarding, just to remind myself that these challenges are here to be fun, and they are challenging. They're supposed to be challenging. It's how we stretch, it's how we grow, it's how we find out more about ourselves. And but it just lightened the whole load of the space as well. So I highly recommend that you look at where you can be trying new things. Where are those aspects of your life if something might be sitting there that you've always wanted to do? So go and do it and go and give it a try. You never know how good you're going to be. And you know what? Nobody needs to be Olympic level other than the Olympians. They've been training for life. That's great. We'll leave that space up to them. Even if you just do it and you enjoy it and you've learned something new, that is a win. And you could take that going forward. And also, you keep cultivating that beginner's mindset, that openness that will just bring more and more opportunities into your life if you keep the filters open. Just my 2 cents from today. I'll see you again in 2 weeks where I've got an interview with the Cheeky Social team. They are a fantastic dynamic duo of sisters up in Joburg who are creating content for social media. We work with them on a few projects. They're absolutely fantastic. And I hope you're going to enjoy that interview as well.